So we're doing something different tonight. We're actually going to camp in a tent for our 70 subscriber special. We don't normally camp in a tent, and we both have tent camped quite a bit in our lives. I grew up tent camping. That was basically our summer vacation every year. And David's done a lot of tent camping as well. Together, we've mostly camped where we sleep in the car, most recently in the van that we built out, which I prefer just because it's more comfortable, full-size bed, regular mattress, protection from the wind, it's warmer, you don't hear all the little sounds that keep you up at night wondering if there's an alien on your tent. But we're doing this for our 70 subscriber special, and we're gonna just have fun in this tiny little fort version of our van. This is our setup. We have our air mattress. It's a queen size. And then we brought in our down comforter that we normally have on the bed in the van. And all our pillows. We have all our little things in this pocket. Our thermometer. It's 51 degrees out right now. Spoons for dinner. Salt and pepper for dinner. Scissors to cut our Mountain House meals open. I know you can tear them, but I prefer to cut them. And then for dinner tonight, we're gonna have Mountain House meals, creamy mac and cheese. This is a local Oregonian company actually, so that's fun, like supporting local when we can. Out of Albany. Some Coke for later. And our whiskey's in the back there.
There's our buddy heater.
Stay warm.
I don't know if it's going to get cold enough to actually use it, but nice to have it.
Just in case.
And some magazines for some late night reading. And then back here, we've got the Jackery 1000 just to keep things charged up.
All our little solar lanterns, our solar puffs, hanging from various loops in the tent. And then we also have our big floodlight, which will come in handy if it gets dark. I don't even know if we're going to need it. These little lights actually put out a lot of light, so. But we'll have it just in case.
Now I know that there are some rabbits that live down in this little valley, and they come out frequently at night, so if I'm lucky I might be able to get some shots, but we'll see.
So we just got back to the tent. We are camping on my parents' property, so we went to hang out with them for a little bit in the house. And it's really cold out. It feels like, I don't know. Well, it says it's only, well, it said it was 43 in here, but we've already got the buddy heater going, and it's warming up really fast. It's already up to, 48. It actually feels pretty good. I feel like I need to take my coat off. I'm actually surprised that it warmed up this quick, because this is a very summery tent. Like this netting just goes, it's the rain fly, there's like a good 4-inch gap from the rainfly to the netting, so tons of ventilation. Also, that means tons of cold air that can come in. So I'm actually surprised it's warmed up so fast in here. But yeah, so we're just gonna hang out.
So we just had to turn off the buddy heater like pronto because we realized that it was a little bit too close to the air mattress. And we've got this large bubble happening because it got way too soft and warm. You should probably get off of the mattress, actually.
Go where?
I know, but I mean, like, you're forcing the air into the soft portion, and we don't want it to, like, stay like that.
Ugh.
So you need to get off. I know there's nowhere to go, but... Find a place.
I feel like I'm gonna have to step on the bubble to get past it. Okay. I think we just permanently deformed our mattress.
Might have. Whoops.
At least we didn't pop it.
It's not popped yet. So I am going to make an adult beverage with my little mug, but we're going to put some whiskey with Coke. And I've never had this whiskey before. It was pretty inexpensive. I have low expectations, but that's why I have the Coke. So we'll see how it goes. So the temperature has dropped to upper 30s outside, and now that we can't use the buddy heater, it's a bit cold in here.
It's freezing.
Yeah, so it's cold. It's going to be a long night for sure. But that's what tent camping's all about, right? So so we don't do tent camping hardly at all. I mean, I did a lot of tent camping, or most of the camping I did when I was younger was tent camping, if not almost all of it. But when we had decided to find a rig for us to start doing dispersed camping, we thought long and hard about what kind of setup we would want. We did some preliminary camping trips in the back of Jen's SUV, and that was actually pretty nice, being in an enclosed car where there's a little bit more insulation and it's quieter and it feels safer. We really liked that, but we wanted more space. So then we started exploring the idea of converting a van. So now that we've been camping in the van for about 8 months, we've grown to love it. That's definitely the route that was best for us. You know, we're doing the tent camping for this trip for our 70 subscriber special, just to shake things up a little bit. But it's reminding us of why we've decided not to tent camp for the most part. It's just not as warm. The amount of space is super limited. And obviously with the mattress, that's not a good combination with the heater, so we don't have a heater.
Yes. Growing up, we did only tent camping, and but we never tent camped in the winter. It was always in the summer when it was warmer out. Even as an adult, when I camped in tents, it was in fair weather. So this is a change of pace for sure. I definitely prefer van camping. We liked sleeping in the back of my SUV because it was warmer, more comfortable. It felt safer. We definitely wanted more room, which is why the van was a good option. We didn't want to have to crawl in the back of a pickup truck. Didn't want to have to set up or climb up into a rooftop tent. And I liked the idea of being able to access the driver's seat from where I was sleeping. Not that I plan on camping alone, but just from a safety standpoint, I liked that idea. And so we made the decision to go with a van as our adventure vehicle, and I really am happy with that decision. And sleeping in this cold tent is really solidifying that. It's way too cold out here.
So it was a cold night. Right now, we're at 37 degrees right now, but it had dropped down about 36. A little bit colder than it would have been in the van. And it's been raining. It's been raining off and on all night. It's raining right now. Kind of not the best weather to be tent camping. So I have no idea if there's going to be anything on these trail cams, but we'll have to take a look and see. So when I'm in the van and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the tent in the rain and it's soaking wet, and it's just above freezing temperatures, this is when I'm most of the time really happy that we're camping in a van. The thought of going out there and breaking down the tent in the rain, cold rain, hauling everything out of there and packing up in the van it's not a fun thought. which kind of circles me back to why we think we really made a good choice with going with a van for our dispersed camping. The more we use the van, the more confident I am that we made the right decision. Before we left for our trip yesterday, I was looking at the van and then Jen's SUV and looking at the actual footprint of the two vehicles, and it's not that much bigger. I mean, you've got a little bit. It's a little bit longer, a little bit wider, but the actual footprint of the vehicle itself is not much bigger than a large SUV, or even a slightly smaller than full-size SUV. Where the van feels really huge is when you're driving it, and it's strange how much bigger it feels when you're actually behind the wheel and maneuvering it. And that's one of the big drawbacks to the van, is its maneuverability or lack of maneuverability. Jen's Kia has an insanely good turning radius, better than most cars that I've driven. And so that car, even though it's not a whole lot smaller than the van, it feels very maneuverable. You can get it exactly where you want it. You can get away with a 1-point turn, whereas the van would take like a 5-point turn. So when you're on the trails or narrow forest roads, something like a little bit full-size SUV or a little bit smaller SUV is going to be a much more convenient vehicle to have. That's where the van really has its drawbacks, is its maneuverability. The turning radius on the van is not good. It's actually pretty bad. So if there is a point where you need to turn around and there's not a big turnaround or a big turnout or an area to do it, it's going to take you a little while to inch yourself around. Also, it's interesting, even though the footprint isn't that much bigger in the van, when you're inside the van, it feels cavernous. I mean, this is a van, it feels like a little mini home inside of it. And, as I was talking about last night, in our first camping experiences inside the back of the SUV, we really enjoyed being inside a vehicle, but there just wasn't enough room. I mean, we had a queen-size air mattress blown up in the back of that. It wasn't fully flat. We were basically almost kissing the roof of the SUV when we were in the back sleeping. There was a funny moment when we were camping at Glacier National Park in Montana a couple years ago in the back of the SUV, and we got caught in a rainstorm, and we had to grab all of our stuff and throw them in the front seats just to get it out of the rain. And that was the problem, right? There was nowhere to casually sit if the weather got bad in the SUV. There was no space because all the space was taken up by our stuff. I mean, literally, it was stacked almost to the top. We had stuff stacked on the dash. We had stuff stacked in the footwells. We had stuff stacked behind the front seats. And then the back was all taken up by the air mattress. So there's no place to go other than being on the air mattress. So, Jen and I had our bowls of food that she had just cooked up. We couldn't even face each other. We're facing the outside and we're cramped and we're trying to eat with our heads right near the roof. And I think it was a funny moment, but that was the moment we realized this isn't going to work. We're going to need to find another solution. And that's when we went down the van route. And of course, there's so many options when it comes to vans. There is not a right or wrong van to purchase. There's pros and cons to every vehicle. Naturally, if you go on YouTube and you look at van lifers or people who are doing the converting vans to campers, the Mercedes Sprinter is the vehicle of choice, especially the high roof, and it's a brilliant vehicle. Tons of space, more space than we have in here, and it would be nice to be able to stand up. But there's a huge cost, you have to factor in for that kind of vehicle. I mean, for a 4-wheel drive Sprinter van, I mean, you're going to be at least $60,000 into the van, and that's without doing any conversion to it at all. I mean, that's like with a blank canvas, a bare metal cargo area. So that's a lot of money, and for some people that's doable for them. And there was a point where I seriously was considering going the Sprinter route I thought that was probably ultimately the vehicle that would have suited our needs the best. But when you factored in the cost and you factored in, even with the 4-wheel drive, it's not super off-road capable. It'll get you places the 2-wheel drive won't, but not very many places beyond that. So we started exploring other options. Obviously the van we settled on was the Ford Econoline. And you can buy, they don't actually make it anymore. They stopped making the Econoline in 2014 was the last model year they made. And so from 2015 on, they discontinued the Econoline, and they've switched over since to the Ford Transit van, which is also a very good van. But the reason why we went with the Ford Econoline is, one, it was way more affordable. You're getting a used vehicle, but it's substantially less expensive. And you have the option, if you so choose, to convert the van to a 4-wheel drive. And there are many shops across the country that do this. If you're not mechanically inclined to do it yourself, which I'm not, I would definitely have a shop do it. But that was what really intrigued me, is that when you do a 4-wheel drive conversion on these Ford Econolines, it becomes a very capable machine. It can be a very good off-road rig. It's not going to get you the same places that a Jeep Rubicon is going to get you, or the upcoming Ford Bronco, or even a Toyota 4Runner. Or Toyota Tacoma. It's not going to get you quite the same places, but it's going to get you more places than a 4x4 Sprinter. Sprinters have a longer wheelbase. You can't get as big of tires. You can get 35, 37s on a Ford Econoline after you've modified it or lifted it. Not that I'll go 37s, but you have that option. So to me, based on the lower entry cost, fairly good reliability if it's been a well cared for van, the option of going 4-wheel drive conversion when you're willing to put in the expense for that, kind of like the best all-arounder for the lowest entry cost. We paid under $10,000 for this van, and you'll pay more than that just for the 4x4 conversion. So you'll double the cost, once you start kitting out your rig to that extent. But even if we did everything that I dream to do on this van, it's still going to be substantially less expensive than buying a Sprinter van before you do the camper conversion to it. And having not driven a big vehicle much, it took some getting used to. My daily driver is a Subaru STI, and I love that car. It was my dream car. It still is my dream car. Every time I get in it and drive it to work, I'm like, don't ever sell this car. Keep this car forever. And so there's always moments where I'm thinking, I've had it for 6 years. Maybe it's time for something different. Maybe it's time to get an SUV, or something to kind of a little bit smaller than the van to go off-roading every once in a while. When I don't want something as big as the van. But then I get in the Subaru and I'm like, no, don't sell it. This car is just incredible. It's just such a functional, great daily driver. And there's a lot of people that'll argue that it's not a good daily driver. I've daily driven it for 6 years and I love it. And every time I get into it, after I haven't driven it for a while, it feels like a race car. I love it. So going from a Subaru STI into the Ford Econoline, it's a huge difference. I feel like I'm driving a bus most of the time. We love the van. It's fun to drive. It feels huge, but it's fun. When you look to the back, there's tons of space. We can fit a full queen size bed back there. We still have a little bit of space, for other, like a living room area. We have more than an ample space for all the gear we want to bring. In fact, now what I like to do is every trip we go on, my goal is, what can we leave home? How can we pare down our kit? The first few times we went camping in the van, it was just, we brought way too much stuff because the van can hold so much stuff. So you're like, oh, well, if we can bring this, let's bring it. And after the first couple of trips, we realized that we are not using even maybe 30% of all the things that we brought. So every trip now, it's always like, let's bring this, but let's see, do we need it for the next time? And then when we realize we don't need it, we leave it at home. So our travel kit is getting much smaller, which is nice, but I still want to pare it down even more. So ultimately, camping with the van has been the best route for us. And, I can't wait to, do more modifications to the van and get it more prepared to take it deeper into the wilderness, be able to take it on some roads that I haven't felt comfortable taking it on now because it's only 2-wheel drive. If I had 4-wheel drive, I would take it in some little bit more snowy conditions. Nothing extreme, but right now if I see snow, I freak out and I'm like, nope, we got to turn around, because there's been a few times where it doesn't take much snow to render the van pretty much immobile. So we have to be very careful about that. We have a lot of plans in store for the van. We're only in phase 1 right now, and I think phase 2 will be a pretty big improvement. We'll keep you guys up to date on some of the new modifications that we're planning to do. But for now, the van has been perfect, and we're really excited that we made this decision. And especially when I'm looking outside there, out the window, and looking at the rain and that wet tent we're going to have to pack up and put away, I very much am appreciative of the van and everything it has to offer.